Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts. Yes, I'm wearing a onesie. No, it's not important. What's important is that today we're talking about the Brave token or Adventure token, engine package, archetype, whatever you want to classify it as. It's been storming the metagame, at least in the TCG. It's already been around in the OCG and even gotten some hits on the ban list already for them. And it's crazy. So today I'm talking about the 5 reasons why I think this engine is so incredibly crazy for the game and why it will indefinitely get hit. Not if, not when. Well, it is when. It's not if, it's definitely when. This engine is going to get hit at some point. It is too good. It is too generic. And we're going to talk about that as we go. So I have a little list here. We'll be going down 1 through 5. Not necessarily in any particular order, but kind of in order. I wasn't too stressed about ordering everything perfectly. The first thing, that's obviously the most important thing to mention here is, of course, it's an Omni Negate. This engine is 1 card, sets up an Omni Negate before you have to commit into your play at all. The restriction is minimal, so it usually doesn't hinder you that much there, and that's so incredibly powerful. Prank Kids is probably the best example of this, in that once they got Meow Meow hit, they are so much more they're hurt so much more from a disruption, from an Ash, from a Nib, from a whatever, than they ever were before. They usually passed 2-1 interruption. Now they have like a very consistent engine that gets them to at least 1 negate for 1 hand trap, and that does a world of help for the deck. I mean, you could argue the deck's stronger now than it was when it had 3 Meow Meow because of this engine. It's insane. Secondly, number 2, we've got restrictions are barely even restrictions. The one restriction we have is on, I believe, Rite of Eremasia. This is the real only restriction here. It reads, you cannot activate the effects of monsters on the field the turn you activate this card, except special summoned monsters. So all that says is you can't activate a normal summoned monster's effects on the field. That's not even that bad. Like, seriously. I've literally already seen Rite of Eremasia combined with Sword Soul. Sword Soul, you would think Sword Soul is very reliant on resolving Moye, resolving Taya on the follow-up, all that stuff. Those are normal summons. Even normal summon Ecclesia turn 1, you can't activate her under this thing. And we've already seen those decks popping out. Like, that's like insane. That like all you have to do is just slightly adjust your deck building, and it just doesn't matter because this engine is that good. I mean, the restriction is just so weak. It could have made it, if they said like you cannot normal summon the turn you use this, then maybe we're looking at something. I feel like that eliminates a lot of different things from being able to play this at all, but not quite. Just not quite at all. So the restriction is just not honestly even that at all for the decks that can play it. Number 3, the bricks are not even really that bricky. Let's be honest, Wandering Griffin Rider, if you open this guy in your opening hand and you don't see any other of the Fateful token or the Adventure token, Brave token engine, he's just Cyber Dragon. He just jumps on the field. If you're playing stuff like DPE in your deck, boom, that's half of your Verte Anaconda materials. Or if you're playing something like the Tenyi Synchro deck, this is a level 7. If you can just find any level 3 tuner, whether it's Ash Blossom, whether it's Ghost Ogre, whether it's E-Telly into a Ghost Ogre, whether it's Red Rose Dragon, whatever, you've already got yourself a Baronne de Fleur and probably extra value on top of that. It's just an extender. Same thing with Fateful Adventure. This card gives you a discard to search any of these cards. Any card that lists Brave Adventure token in its text, which could just be Griffin Rider, right? Like pitch a card to add Griffin Rider, just a simple extender. Or you search Enchantress, Enchantress gets you Rite of Eremasia, and then Rite of Eremasia gets you a token. So like either way, you're just like putting bodies on the field as extenders. So, and then this stays on the field, so you can use it every single turn to keep like getting some value off of it. So it's actually pretty good. The one that's probably like the most bricky is definitely Draco back. This card is only a bounce if it is currently equipped to a non-effect monster. But there's worse things. There's just worse things. I mean, a lot of decks can still like summon a non-effect monster. A lot of decks can still put up a token. Depends on the deck you're playing it with. But still, you know, what are you gonna do? Like this one's the only one that's even like kind of bricky, even though most people kind of call all 3 of those one-offs kind of bricks. But this is the only one that's even a little bit bricky. And I think if you see almost literally, except for Griffin Rider, any of the other 7 cards in the engine, this card isn't a brick anymore. So it's not bricky at all. Taking us to our fourth point, number 4 is follow-up is insane. As far as the follow-up goes, you're mainly looking at a couple different things. The first thing is your adventure token. By doing the combo and even doing the negate to interrupt your opponent with Griffin Rider goes back into the deck, but you still keep the token. So that's still a body. That's 2,000, probably has the equip spell on it for a bounce. You have to keep that in mind, that this is just a recurring bounce like every turn. So busted, like in terms of follow-up. Like if you go first and you start with this, or even going second, if you can resolve into this or bait everything else out from your opponent and then go into the Brave token stuff, you've got a bounce. You'll probably have Griffin Rider and the token for at least 4,000 points of damage, or 2,000 beaters to clear over monsters. And even in that instance, like, it's still pretty good going second. And of course, Fateful Adventure. Like once the Griffin Rider shuffles itself back, it's not just a one and done deal. Next turn, you can just Fateful Adventure, assuming you still have your token. You can still just like use this card, add the Griffin Rider again, pitch a card, and because you still have the token, just plop the Griffin Rider back on the field and you've reestablished that Omni Negate. The follow-up for this engine is also nothing to sneeze at. It makes this, especially already in a grindy deck, like even grindier and really tough to take on. And the last thing here to mention is just like the random synergies that like just exist in this deck. Like if this was just a standalone engine, there was no weird effects, like maybe this just searched but didn't discard, it adds to certain synergies. I'm currently looking at an Ogdoadic build that potentially plays this stuff, and you look at stuff like Fateful Adventure, it adds one of the monsters and then it discards. So any of the Ogdoadic cards, any deck ever, so like Phantom Knights is great in, because you can pitch a Phantom Knight card that you actually want in grave, get honestly more value out of in grave, or you can pitch something like, well, not in this instance, but we'll get to that, but anything. I'm looking at Ogdoadic, you can pitch whatever the big brick monsters you play. If you already just have a brick, you play Gamma, but you drew Driver, boom, just pitch the Driver. Like you're just, you know, you can at least get some value out of it. It's just so insane. Another synergy is, of course, Enchantress. She is like the best discard in every deck, because for some ungodly reason, they made this card able to banish from hand or graveyard. So you can literally go into a board, droplet pitching Enchantress to negate their board, and maybe pitch another card to negate 2 things at a time to really like blanket negate their board or something, whatever. Then just banish this card, search Rite of Eremacir, and there you go. You've already got your way into the negate play. So crazy, with a bounce also after you negate everything, so you're also breaking apart the board a little bit extra there anyway. So incredibly strong. That makes this card insane. Any deck that plays discards, any deck that just needs a body on field, maybe it's a DPE deck where like you can normal summon this card, use any extender, just simple extender, just jumps on the field, make Verte, then banish this card from grave to get that Omni Negate live, and then the last thing you do is Verte for a DPE play. Done. You got DPE and you have an Omni Negate with the follow-up of the engine. Like those little synergies like are so crazy. Like they did not need to make this card able to banish from grave, and it makes it twice as good. Same thing with Fateful Adventure. This discard actually ends up having like insanely good synergy in certain decks. It's insane. Sorry about some of these noises, guys. Somebody's doing something in the room next to me. But yeah, like crazy. I feel like I need to make a video about this. I felt like I didn't even talk that much about the Brave token engine prior to it coming out, so I feel like I owed a video at least on my thoughts. And this engine's so crazy, it's gonna get hit. I don't know if we see something like Enchantress go to 1 or Rite of Eremacir go to 1, or just, I think it'll be a consistency hit first. I don't think there's really anything else to hit out the gate like that. I mean, if they ban Griffin Rider and then the next guy comes out, at least it's not a negate. I mean, it's a pretty good engine that just gets you like a free extra interruption, but at least it's not a negate. Like maybe it's not even good in prank kids anymore, because it's like not protecting your play, it's just another interruption. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where Konami goes with it. Obviously, we've probably got at least 6 months with this engine. We're going to see it a lot. I wish Konami had addressed Scythe, because right now it seems like Phantom Knights are probably the best deck in the game, and part of that is because they still have Scythe access to the like DP Scythe stuff, just to lock you out of the X deck and have an Omni Negate. It's just too stupid. But yeah, I actually like it right now. It feels fresh right now. I'm sure it'll get old real quick. But we'll see. It's busted. For these 5 reasons, this engine is absolutely insane. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me down the line. Streaming Tuesdays and Saturdays right now. So come hang out on those days. I always make a community post letting people know when I'm going live. Been grinding a lot on Master Duel during those streams, but definitely want to try out some other things as well. And we'll get there when we get there. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Peace.